Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Transformation Tuesday. This week, we're going to talk not about making changes to the way that we communicate. Instead, we're going to talk about making changes in the way that we're investing. No, I don't mean financial investments. We're going to talk about investing in terms of our energy, our time, and our emotional capacity. This is something that would come up a lot when I would be at speaking events, working with clients. People are often trying to figure out, how can I maximize my time to do more, to be more, chasing this sort of never-ending desire to be considered enough. And a lot of what my discussion would end up coming back to is, how are you making choices on the investments that you're currently making, and what is the return that you're getting? Typically, when I ask people that, when it comes to relationships or careers or anything like that, they kind of look at me with a blank stare. What do you mean, the return? It makes a little bit of sense if we talk about volunteering or doing something good. The idea is you feel good afterwards. My question is, why can't that be true in everything that we're investing in? So let's think about it. Every day, you get a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of emotional capacity that you get to invest in all the different things that you're doing. For me, that consists of my partnership, my friendships and family members that I'm really close to, investing in my career and developing my business, my health overall, from a mental standpoint, physical standpoint, hobbies that I have. There's a variety of different components that I have choices to make every day in how I want to invest in those different things. Each of those, let's consider them little pots of coin collectors, essentially. And what I'm thinking about each day is how to go and deposit coins into each one of those pots. How much, how often, things like that. And now, if you think about traditional investments, one of the most important things we look at is, what is our return? How much are we going to get back based on that investment? So when I think about this in the context of emotional capacity or how we're spending our energy, it's no different. Where am I going to get the most energy return, the most emotional recharge in what I'm doing? And where are there places where I might be more okay with not getting that return because I know I can get it elsewhere? So let's use an example. I had a client that was in a really unhappy relationship, really not thriving in the way that they had hoped to in work, feeling really disgruntled in terms of some health situations they were going through, just a lot of things that felt like they were being drained or pulled from their energy resources. And instead of thinking through what is a smarter way of my investment, they were continuing to put even their energy reserves and emotional reserves into these different components, thinking that if I invest more, more will come back. But look at your bank account. I have a couple savings accounts that no matter how much money I put in there, I'm probably never going to get more than 0.001 cents back every single month. That's because not every investment is going to return in more just because I give more. So when you think about those relationships or those things you're investing your time in, I want you to think about doing an analysis of, have you ever gotten more back? What would it look like to get more back? And if you're being honest with yourself, are these the right places to expect it? If I'm in a career where I don't feel like I'm thriving, I don't feel heard, I'm not happy, I don't get excited every day, that's not going to change in a week. So instead, I need to be thinking about, is this where I want to be investing my time, my energy, my emotional capacity? Or do I need to be rethinking my decision and look at other investments from a career standpoint? If instead that's a career that I want to stay in, though I know I'm not going to get that energy return, I need to be thinking about, where should I be putting other aspects of my energy to get a return elsewhere? What we want to think about is the goal at the end of the day is that we're banking more energy than we're putting out. That's not always possible. I might not be able to go to bed every day with just this excitement or energy that's sort of rebuilding, or a charge of feeling emotionally well. So instead, what we think about is having an overall net zero or a net positive in terms of our energy gain. So I might have some days that are more draining for me. I'm spending a lot of energy on relationships that might be going through hard times, or investing in something like my career when I'm moving across the country and trying to establish myself, knowing that for a while it's going to be draining my backup or my reserves. Instead, though, I might think about, when is that going to come back, or how might I get something more the next day? So if I know, for example, I love painting, can I incorporate a little bit of painting so that I can feel that recharge because I know these other areas are draining more? Or the next day, can I find ways to maybe pull back a little bit on the amount I'm investing in some of those things taking up my time or my resources? So, what I want you to be thinking about is a couple steps. One, I want you to make a list of all the different buckets where you are currently putting your energy. Sometimes I think about it too of what are the different hats that I wear? Who do I need to be and for whom? Because that helps me get a feeling for where I'm putting energy, even sometimes running in the background processing of my brain. After that, I want you to look at how much are you actually putting in terms of your energy on an average day into each of those components. Then sit with that and ask yourself, how does that feel? If I'm being really honest with myself, am I investing where I want to? Next step, I want you to think about what is the return on each of those investments. Again, not necessarily in this moment right now, but what's the average return? So if I know right now my career is taking a little bit more of my energy resources, I'm not going to want to say, well, today it's negative 70. Instead, what's the average? What's it looked like for the last 6 months to a year? Or are there circumstances right now that are specific to this time component where they will get better over time or change over time? When I think about those returns, then I want to come back and think through, okay, so if I'm looking at every day making smart investments and I know the places where I need to be putting some of my energy, how can I shake up or move some of these other things around to make sure my overall return is again a net zero or positive if at all possible? From there, it's important to start being okay with being uncomfortable. Sometimes, for example, one of the people that I worked with where we had to make hard decisions was saying, I wonder if you're over investing in a relationship that might have met its end, that might have died and is no longer worth investing in. Or I wonder if your career is not in a position that you want to continue growing and it might be time to look for a change. So sometimes this helps us come to those realizations. I'm not saying you're going to be ready today to make all the changes. It's just important to be honest with yourself so you can start to make those considerations or at least be more mindful of when you feel drained, having more insight and awareness as to the why. If there's more that you need to help you kind of thinking through this, definitely let me know. I'm happy to answer your questions. To give you a heads up of how we're going to link this to future Transformation Tuesdays, we're also going to talk a little bit about values. We're going to talk a little bit about living in line with our values and how to work through some of the negative self-talk and shame that can come with pulling back on things that we've been told we're really supposed to be investing in our lives. I hope this gives you a really great way to get started this week and thinking through how you want to make some changes, what you're looking for in your life. And again, just remind yourself, it's not about trying to do it all. It's about being mindful in the way you're investing in the things that you're doing so that you can feel better every day, knowing that you're making choices that are working for you and giving you a return to allow you to keep making the changes in the world that you want to make. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next Tuesday.